Hey ya folks, so a while ago I made a video talking about new editions of books, the ones I liked, the ones I didn't like, and sort of why they happened in the first place. And not only was that video pretty well received, but your comments gave me quite a few ideas on how I can sort of continue this discussion while shifting to a more general topic of, our favorite and least favorite book covers. So along with the comments on that video, and as well as the comments on some community posts I've made, I wanted to continue the discussion with you guys as well as add some of my own insights as well. So we have a lot to go over, unfortunately though. So when I made the first initial YouTube community post, there were a handful of comments I got right away. Though it was kind of weird because I did not get notifications that I received them. And then a couple hours later, they all disappeared. Like, they weren't in the spam folder, they weren't held for review, they were just gone. So yeah, if your comment did go missing, I apologize because I was not able to recover them. But hopefully you'll have a chance in the future to be featured in a video. And from now on, whenever I do this, I will be screenshotting things immediately. So Buzz here has what they say is one of the worst cover downgrades in history, with My Life as Monster Bait. I have to say, this is like one of the most 90s looking covers I've ever seen. It's not really my thing, but it does have a lot of charm and style for sure. The new one, I can definitely see why it matches like a more modern style, but yeah, it definitely doesn't really have the wow factor that the first one did. I've never heard of this book before, I have no connection to it, but yeah, it is what it is. And for Buzz's best cover, they have Heaven's Official Blessing, Volume 4. They're kind of crazy for that, not gonna lie. Joff, for his favorites, brings up the Sun Eater Saga in the UK editions, and yeah, those are really nice. They look a lot better than the American ones. I don't mind the American ones, but the British definitely know what they're doing in this instance, as we'll see later. Not in every instance. The new Dune hardcovers, yeah, absolutely, those are excellent. I actually do really like the more minimalist, like, simple Dune covers that they have too, but the new ones are definitely excellent, especially the cover for the first Dune book. They were really hitting the spice when they did that one. This particular edition of American Psycho, yeah, this one is very striking, very cool. The white background copies of the Poppy War trilogy, also really cool style on these ones. And it sort of brings us to the first discussion topic I wanted to bring up on, what makes a cover great. Obviously the first is that it should be aesthetically pleasing. And with the advancement in, graphic design over the past 20 years, it's very easy to make pretty looking covers. And these Poppy War ones are definitely an example. However, I want to bring up another edition of the Poppy War, coming all the way from Indonesia. Now this is pretty. It's pretty. This person is a really good artist, but it definitely gives off a certain vibe. Like a middle grade Avatar The Last Airbender type beat. Again, I think the art is good, but man, to me this art style does not match with the Poppy War in the slightest. And I feel like it will result in a lot of parents probably buying it for their children. And if you haven't read the Poppy War, I mean, it's like one of the bleakest fantasy stories I've read. A lot of horrific imagery in that one. So this is definitely an example of a cover that I think is good on its own, but maybe not the best representation of its source material. Also worth pointing out is that you see in the cover here our main character Rin is holding a bow. She is also holding a bow in the original cover for the Poppy War. And I haven't read the full trilogy, but I have consulted with people who have, and she never once uses a bow in the entire thing. This is a very weird occurrence to me. Like, how did this even happen? Did they just commission, like, generic Chinese warrior girl, and so people just drew her with a bow just because? But then why did it happen in future editions too? Very silly to me. It doesn't like really ruin anything, but it kind of gives you the expectation that her main weapon will be a bow, but she never touches one. Something similar, I've also started going through the realm of the Elderlings, and I mentioned those paperbacks recently. Really, really great covers. I love those. The mass market ones, though, not great in the slightest. And the first one, for The Assassin's Apprentice, which looks like this, has a deer on the cover, and there's like no deer in the book. at all. I've not done it yet, but people have also said that there's not really a deer. Again, like, why? Is it just generic fantasy boy who can talk to animals, so they just slapped a stock photo of a deer on there for good measure? Like, what are you doing? And connects to Joff's point on his least favorite covers, and they are the ones that, you know, have real people in them. Yes, this is probably most common in movie tie-in editions, where they'll just slap the movie poster on the book, which usually don't look very good, but sometimes they will opt to just have, like, real people that they took a picture of for the cover. And yeah, I've never been a fan of this at all. You know, part of the magic of literature is that you sort of picture it all in your head. So just like slapping these random guys on the cover sort of ruins the experience. Like, I don't enjoy going through The Assassin's Apprentice and picturing this guy as Fitz, but my brain sort of just does that because I've been staring this guy in the face. One of the worst examples of this that I have seen recently is this cover for The Princess Bride. Oh my god. This is an instance where just using a picture from the film would have been infinitely better, because these two look like they're just cosplaying as Buttercup and Wesley. What is this? Oh my god. Especially because this is a book that has had so many covers over the years, and so many of them are fantastic. Just what was the process behind this one? Mother of God. Divorce Papers brings up the Chinese cover for Warbreaker. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not actually a huge fan of this one. I mean, it is nice and has some, like, you know, references to the story, but I don't know, it seems a bit too busy for me. Like, I can't really tell what's going on until, like, I really focus on it. I also don't really like the way that the text is here, but I can definitely see why someone would like it, because, you know, it is pretty in its own way. And I'm also not the biggest fan of Warbreaker's American cover either, so yeah. Apollo from the Inkwell Reader here has a few. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, which, yeah, that one is very nice, very appealing. Fractal Noise. I talked to him about this and he didn't know, but this cover was made with AI. There was a big controversy about it. I don't think the author knew, but like the publisher sort of did it without him, and then, you know, it was too late to change it. Definitely see why this one is appealing from a distance, but once you like analyze it closer, you know, it being AI becomes very apparent and is sort of just like repulsive. Ugh. Once again mentions Dune. Hidden Pictures. I assume this is the cover you mean, and yeah, it does look pretty cool. It's definitely got a modern style to it. Even though I don't know anything about this book, you know, I can kind of get a picture of what the vibe is just by looking at it. Realm of the Elderlings, the new editions from Mistborn. Yeah, I like those. I mentioned earlier how I enjoy how we finally have all 7 books in like a consistent style. And that brings me, I just wanted to talk about the Mistborn covers I own, and how lame they are compared to like other Mistborn covers that are out there. Like the first one, not too bad, but like the second and third are weird in that like whoever is drawing Vin here does like basically changes her design each time. Not only does she look younger, but also looks a bit more awkward and flat. The Hero of Ages especially, with her like standing on that Koloss, it's so weird, so off-putting. But the worst thing about these covers to me is that they have taglines on the top that actually spoil the previous books, like pretty heavily, to the point where if you saw this on the shelf at the store and you were, say, in the middle of reading The Final Empire and you read that, you'd be kind of screwed. And I don't know why they decided to do that. So yeah, I'm very glad that those covers seem to have been completely phased out, and I should probably get some new ones. And Apollo's least favorite is the original cover for The Great Gatsby. Yeah, you know, this was back in the time where graphic design wasn't a thing, and while, you know, there are a lot of books and classics, and there are definitely some genuinely good covers from that time, a lot of them just don't really hold up, and this is absolutely one of them. This kind of looks disgusting. Like, unless you want an original copy of the book for collector's reasons, there have been hundreds and hundreds of editions with better covers than this, so yeah, I would probably never opt for this one. Omar brings up the Alan Lee Middle-earth covers. Absolutely, those things are magnificent, absolute works of art, and probably the best, like, editions of the Middle-earth books I've seen. The original First Law covers, absolutely, those things are great. They really just capture the vibe of sort of this, you know, grimdark medieval world, and often have some, you know, hidden details in there too to represent the book. John Gwyn's of Blood and Bone trilogy, Yeah, they're pretty good. I would add to that the Bloodsworn trilogy. Like, the art there with, like, the dragon and the wolf, it's so cool. Adds so much scale to the world. You know, really puts into perspective how small the humans are compared to the gods here. And I'm very excited to see what that third one looks like. Now, he doesn't like the covers for Salem's Lot and Pet Sematary. There was a bit of an issue I had with you scoundrels, not really identifying which editions you mean. I just hope you aren't talking about the original covers here, because I really like the original Salem's Lot. Like, we get this picture of the nice little town here, but, you know, the colors really give it this sinister vibe. And I mean, I genuinely think that the original cover for Pet Sematary is one of the, you know, greatest horror covers ever. I mean, maybe you were talking about this one, in which case, yes, I understand that way more. But the original's so good, man. If you were talking about that, you're banned. Rhinestone Samurai thinks that the new paperback covers they started doing for Discworld are atrocious. Now, I actually disagree here quite a bit. I actually like a lot of the new Discworld covers. Now, they did make a point to bring up that they don't match the vibes of the books, and I have only read Mort, so I can't really speak to that. But I do like the colors they used. I like some of the cover art. Not all of it is great. I mean, we can all agree they're better than these ones, though. Jesus Christ. And the one I read, Mort, like, I personally do prefer this cover a lot to the original one. I don't think it's particularly amazing, but I don't really have a huge issue with it. But they did bring up the hardcovers that the Golance, I think is how you say, the publisher does. And these are absolutely very nice, so I definitely agree with you on those ones. Someone brings up the new covers for The Wheel of Time. They don't really say if they like them or dislike them, they just mention them. But yeah, I do like them quite a bit. You know, I might be a bit of a hot take. I'm not a huge fan of the original Wheel of Time covers. Not that the art is bad, I just don't think it often, you know, fits as a cover for like these big fantasy epics. Like, as much as I appreciate that they kept them consistent throughout the years, the fact that this book came out in like 2011 or something is kind of crazy to me. I definitely think the new art for the books, you know, adds a lot more to them, and I really like the design of them as well. Obsessed with the Animorphs covers. Absolutely agree with you there. Those were... we'll never see anything like it again. Absolutely insane that those existed, that they were so popular, that they still get talked about today. And any attempt to, you know, bring Animorphs back has failed spectacularly, because they don't understand what made the originals so iconic. And that was, of course, the covers and quite literally nothing else. Again, not really specifying if it's your favorite or least favorite, but that Goosebumps book with the kid's head on a bee. Goosebumps had some killer covers now that I think about it. Like, part of the reason why a lot of those books were so scary is because, you know, there would be this image that you would have in your head throughout reading the whole thing. And depending the feelings that that image instilled in you, it could really affect how you thought of it, especially, you know, as a little kid reading them. Ghost Beach always scared the crap out of me. The Headless Ghost, the original cover for Stay Out of the Basement. Night of the Living Dummy, Slappy scared the absolute crap out of me. My first Goosebumps book was The Haunted Mask, and like, man, if that is not a striking image to show a child. Whew. They've redone these multiple times throughout the years, and I don't know, I don't think anything has ever really matched some of those original covers. That being said, with there being so many, not all of them were home runs. Some of them were definitely more like the kid with his head on a bee. So in the last video, I talked about the Heroes of Olympus and their, you know, more recent redesigns. But someone pointed out that while they may be, you know, war crime tier, they aren't quite as bad as the UK editions of the Heroes of Olympus. And I cannot... This looks like a 10-year-old had to do a book report on The Lost Hero, and this would be like a slide in their PowerPoint. I cannot believe that this exists. The British should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. No wonder why their empire fell. Like, just because their Sun Eater editions are kind of cool, there's no excuse for this, man. Sly also brings up Percy Jackson and how they don't really like the new editions, bringing up how if they saw these on the shelf as a kid, they probably never would have picked them up. And that brings up something kind of interesting, because I said before, I do like these editions. I think they are really nice and pleasing, but I never really looked at it from that lens before. And yeah, I can definitely see these not really catching the eyes of kids as much as the original covers and even the slightly newer ones, where, you know, it's always action and you see Percy fighting monsters and stuff like that. Stuff is sick for a kid. And this is just kind of like the normal trend of minimalism symbols and stuff, which I think works on a certain level, but maybe not the level that is most important. So that is definitely something interesting to bring up. Least favorite movie redesign has to be for Lord of the Rings. I should have brought this up last time too, because this is definitely one of the worst like re-editions of a book that I have seen recently. I'm of course talking about the Rings of Power covers that they did. Now, if you've seen the Rings of Power, you know that it is a different story from Lord of the Rings. Like, it's not the same thing, so then why would they put those characters on the covers? Like, those characters technically appear in Lord of the Rings, but like, come on, man. It's like if you put, I don't know, Spook on the cover of Mistborn. Like, it's just like Lord of the Rings has so many great covers. Why would you choose this one? These aren't the worst tie-ins I've ever seen, but I'm just being a bit harder on it because, you know, Rings of Power wasn't very good. So we've seen a lot of great covers today, a lot of the bad ones. You guys are definitely introducing me to some stuff that, you know, I think is cool, stuff I wish I had never seen. So yeah, pretty good follow-up here, but I still feel like we've barely only scratched the surface of this topic. I just wanted this video to, you know, sort of further the discussion, encourage you guys to share more with me of your findings. I'm definitely going to be looking into book covers a lot more, and I would very much welcome your guys' help because there's, you know, literally no way I can look at them all. And who knows, this might end with me doing like my top 10 favorite covers or something. I don't know. If you have any comments on the stuff I've mentioned, or if there are any other covers you think I should check out for, you know, good or bad reasons, then feel free to let me know. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.